What's up, everybody? Punkin Drublick from Punkin Drublick Gaming here, and as you can see in the background, I've got some SimCity going on. We're going to be doing a quick little mini review of SimCity, as well as talking about some of the issues with the game and talking about some of the things I enjoy about the game, as well as at the end we're going to do a little bit of a discussion about whether or not you should buy the game. And that's going to definitely depend on the type of player that you are and your opinions on things like always online DRM. But I'm going to give you a little bit of my perceptions of the game, what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy, what I think some of the issues are, and hopefully that'll help anybody that's on the fence decide whether or not they do want to purchase this game. So without further ado, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the launch of SimCity. I'm not going to go into major depth here, but needless to say, as pretty much everybody knows, the SimCity launch was a disaster. There's been some other launches recently that did not go well. SimCity was compared to Diablo 3 in the way that the launch kind of malfunctioned. With Diablo 3, individuals were not able to access the game for, like the first day a lot of times. I experienced both launches, not quite as quickly on the SimCity launch. I jumped in, 4 or 5 days after the game had come out, so I didn't get a lot of the negative issues that other people were getting, but it was very clear that many people could not log into the game at all. Whereas Diablo 3, that seemed to be about a day where there was issues. I was able to log in, the next morning, and played pretty much straight through for a couple of weeks with very minimal interruption. With SimCity, I've experienced a few disconnects. Couldn't join the East Coast server. Still couldn't join the East Coast server. Even as recently as a week ago because it was full. So I've been playing on a West Coast server, even though I'm East Coast based. Thankfully, ping doesn't really matter that much in SimCity, so that latency doesn't affect me. But anyway, let's go down into the city view and kind of get a look at the game. As you can see, it's not a bad looking game. It's got a lot going for it in the graphical department. You do have the ability to zoom right down on the action to get down to street level, follow your individual Sims around, see what's going on in their lives. So if you did want to follow somebody, you could. Let's speed it up here because the traffic's kind of boring to watch. But okay, so I've got a traffic jam. Let's find a situation where the traffic's flowing a little better. Alright, so as you can see, graphically the game looks pretty good zoomed in. You can really get down to the building level and see your city from the ground up. Now, it's an overcast day on this day, so you're not getting a very good look, but as you zoom out, you can kind of see all the individual details of your city. The volumetric smoke here coming out of my stacks looks pretty good. The nuclear power plant stacks. Water reflections look good, as well as the motion of the water. Sorry. Zoom in a little bit on the water here so you can see it. Yeah, so the water looks pretty solid when you get down to that level. Depth of field is decent. So it's definitely got some things going for it in the graphical department. A lot of people think it's kind of cartoony, but for SimCity I think that works. It's also, the art style's good in my opinion. The city that I'm showing you right now is not a very wealthy city. It's kind of like a low wealth population because it's intended strictly to produce processors. And we'll get a little bit more into that in a minute about kind of the city specializations and how those work. But graphically the game looks good. It's extremely fun to play from the gameplay side. Music, I haven't muted right now, but the music is great. They did an excellent job in doing the music for this game, and I think it fits most of the situations pretty well. Specific music for disasters, things like that. So I think you're going to enjoy the sound in this game. You can kind of hear the individual Sims going about their life when you zoom in, and things specific to sim. So if you follow a car, you're going to get the car engines, heavy traffic, there's horns, sirens, all the things you would expect of a bustling city. So those are the good qualities about the game. Gameplay-wise, it's very fun. There are some frustrating things that let's go into. So obviously the first giant downside of the game is always online DRM. And that's a deal breaker for a lot of people. Now, I always have an online internet connection, so it doesn't affect me that much. But with that said, if you are against always online DRM and you don't think it should have a place in today's gaming, you may want to not play this game. But moving on, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because it's been done to death. It was major reasons why the game had issues at launch. I want to move on to some more substantial things that haven't been touched on so much by the community. So one of the other things that, I mean, this has been touched on as an issue, but it definitely needs to be addressed, is the city size. You see on my screen right now, this white dotted line is the outline of a city, and it is small. You can fill a city this size up in like a couple hours easily. And one of the things that I ran into is my city was just too big. I had to kind of downgrade it to make it fit the needs, because as you can see, I already have a problem with traffic. This is the traffic overlay. Red obviously indicates that it's backed up. Yellow is getting backed up. Orange is more backed up, but not quite as bad as red, and green is, you know, that's clear traffic. So with a city size this small, your roads kind of have to be creative in the way that you do roads, and there's a lot of tricks that you need to follow to make sure that your traffic flows freely. Now, moving on to traffic from the city size, because that's pretty evident. There's a lot of issues with having such a small city. It would have been nice to have a lot more room, a bigger canvas, so to speak, to create your city. The traffic problems in this game are exacerbated by the fact that there are no subways, there are no overpasses yet. I'm hoping they'll put them in at some point, but they're not there. So really, for traffic options, all you have is straight roads, and that's really a bummer. With the small city size, trains are less useful. You can't really integrate a good rail system into a small city without taking up a lot of your valuable real estate. No pun intended. So that's a downside. And the other thing that exacerbates the traffic issues is the way that the Sims kind of go about their daily lives at times. There's a lot of strange decision making by the Sims. So for instance, my city is kind of, it's based on building these processors right now. Eventually I'll move up to like computers and TVs as the product that I'm producing. But basically in my city, you need to have alloy and plastic to make these processors. Alloy and plastic comes from my recycling center. You can also import those materials or those resources to create the products, but it can be expensive at times, so it's better to be able to generate it yourself. So I've got a couple of recycling centers in my city, and they help me create my processors. So what happens a lot of times, I'm going to pull up the pane that shows you your specialization, your trade goods, and I'm going to speed it up here a little bit as well so you can kind of see it in action. So as you can see, this is a plastic truck. He's going from my recycling center, and he's coming to my processing factory. He's obviously caught up in traffic right now, but once they've made it to the processing factory, my processing factory will use those materials to create a processor. So right now I've got 550 in storage. Once the processors are made, they will come to my trade port or trade depot to be sold and exported on the global market. So the issues that you run into is sometimes the Sims will go about a crazy way to get here. So they only have to go from here to here. But a lot of times, instead of taking a right out of this processing factory and coming to the trade port, they'll take a left, which makes no sense. They'll go all the way down here come around, have to do a turnaround up here somewhere, and then come back, when all they really had to do was take a right out of the processing factory. So they'll do crazy things like that, which can cause your it can cause your income, especially in a city like this, to fall, and you could potentially go bankrupt if you had enough traffic issues. So as you can see right now, my city is kind of running at a loss because the expenses currently are greater than the income I'm making off taxes. But I'm actually gaining money because of my processor sales. So that's kind of helping me to create wealth here in my city. And you'll find that the further you get in specialization and the higher your population gets, the more likely it is that you'll be in a similar scenario where your expenses, what it takes to run the city, are actually more than your taxes generate. So you've got to find other revenue sources. So that's one of the ways that traffic can become a huge issue, because if I can't get processors to here for a long period of time, I'm going to go broke. My city's going to go bankrupt, basically, because I've got to consistently sell those processors to stay in the black. So that's an issue, and why traffic can exacerbate the issue so much more. Another small issue that I've discovered is inside the region view, and this is pretty obvious to anybody who plays the game. One of the big selling points of SimCity was that you'd be able to team up with friends and help create a city that, or help create a region that kind of feeds off itself, has a symbiotic relationship. So it would be really great if there was a way to auto-trade resources between cities. So for instance, if I had a city that specialized in oil or petroleum, I'd want to be sending the plastic products that city produced over here. So I'd have plastic to make my processors. But the only way to do that is through this gifting screen right now. And you can do it as a one-shot, basically. So I have to go in each time and say I wanted to send processor somewhere. I'd have to go in, send a gift, and then you have to do it every single time. So it gets to be quite a hassle. If there was a system where you could automatically set your goods to go to a specific city as a gift, that would be great, and it would make cities a lot more symbiotic. You could have cities that really supported each other, made the region work overall. But it's not something that's an option. And I think it really is a detriment to the game. So other small issues, the population grid doesn't update or doesn't save information between sessions, so you can't see here, but my city used to be much bigger. It was 400,000 people, and I purposely pared it down to improve my traffic flow, so I'd sell more processors because the trucks could make it around faster. But you can't see that sort of tracking in between sessions. It goes away. So you can't see past October, even though it should go way back. So that's kind of a bummer that it's missing. With that said, there's lots of stats and lots of overlays you can use. Let's pop back into the city screen again and look at all our data maps. So there's a number of things you can look at: population, happiness, building density, residential sections, commercial sections, industrial sections, land value, industrial tech. Anyway, going down, you can see things like crime. All right, so here is an issue that has just popped up: stability. So according to SimCity, my city is not processing properly right now, so it would like me to try and repair it. This is the first time this specific alert has happened, so I'm a little afraid that I'm going to lose my city. And that would make for a great review if I just lost my city. So let's see, I have the option to roll back currently, or abandon. I definitely don't want to abandon. I wonder how far my rollback's going to go. Let's give it a shot. Okay, the last successfully processed state. This may take a few minutes. Alright, well, I don't know how long this is going to take, so I'm going to end the recording here. We're going to finish up this review after, and you can see what happens. Hopefully it was not catastrophic. So, Alright, what's up everybody? I am back, and thankfully I did not lose much progress at all. It looks like I lost like 60 grand as far as simoleons, which is the cash in SimCity. So it wasn't that far back. I probably rolled back like half a month or something. But it did take me like 35 minutes to get back in the game, so it was definitely significant time loss there. So that's definitely definitely an issue that people have been having. Fortunately for me, that was the first time I've had that particular issue. And also fortunately for me, I did not lose my city, so it looks like I had a save pretty close to that. And that is another one of the downsides of not having local saves. If the server does something crazy, you can lose progress. So, but anyway, where we left off is we were just talking about some of the issues with some of the graphs that are available. As you can see, I rolled back now. I only have May to June as far as my population detail. We had talked about that a little earlier. But we were showing you some of the data maps. So anyway, you get an idea that there's a lot of data maps available, and they definitely, you know, add to the game. They allow you to see a lot of things about your city and where it is, from everything from pollution to radiation, even if you have radiation leaks. So, oops, I clicked the wrong one. There we go. So obviously I have no radiation in my city, but if I had unskilled workers that were manning my power plant, you could theoretically have a meltdown and have radiation escape. So the game is good. Don't let me dissuade you, because there are definite downsides, but the game is good. The question of whether or not you should buy it, that is a tough question. If you don't like the online DRM, you don't like the fact that you can't save locally, you don't like the fact that there's no things like subways, there's no overpasses, there's no terraforming available, so you can't change your land layout. Those are significant issues, and we don't know when, if they're going to get better. So those are some of the things that you might have to deal with when you're deciding whether or not you want to actually purchase the game. But overall, it is a fun time, and I've had a lot of enjoyment out of SimCity. I've got like 45 hours into it so far, maybe even a little more. And I've enjoyed it, minus some of the glitches that I think they're going to work on and going to fix. So there's definitely reasons why you might want to buy it if you're a die-hard SimCity fan, and the features that are missing are deal breakers for you. You might want to either wait till they get patched in later, which they hopefully will, or you might want to wait till, or you may just not want to buy it at all. It's one of the things that might prevent you from enjoying the game. But overall, I'd say it's a good game. I'm enjoying it, and I think a lot of people will enjoy the game as well once they get past some small issues. So that's my thoughts. If you wouldn't mind adding comments into the comments section, letting me know what you like about the game, what you don't like about the game, and also if you'd like to post links to your cities, that would be great. I'd like to see what some other people are doing with their cities. As you can see right now, while I was not paying attention, my city apparently started burning down, so got a number of fires across the region. Good times. These are the things you have to pay attention to when you are building your city, because if you don't have the proper resources in place, you might run into some problems. But anyway, add some comments, let me know what you think about the game, and looking forward to seeing everybody's cities. Thanks, have a good one.